Mr. Fein, there's been a lot of confusion about this latest ICJ ruling. Can you kind of walk us through what it says?
It's a very ambivalent decision and basically decides nothing, because the key of a genocide charge is that you actually have proven that the killings have destroyed a people in whole or in part because of their ethnicity or religion, heritage. This decision doesn't make a finding on that score. It just tells Israel, comply with the Genocide Convention.
Could the ICJ have ordered Israel to stop its attacks?
It could have said, we are making finding of genocide and you got to stop right now. But they didn't make a finding of genocide. They didn't make a finding of not genocide. They just said, going forward, comply with the Genocide Convention, which is kind of tautological. Okay, it's a signatory to the Genocide Convention. It has to comply with the convention every day of the year anyway. Why do we need the ICJ to say, hey, Israel, you should comply with the Genocide Convention? My name is Bruce Fein. I was Associate Deputy Attorney General under President Ronald Reagan. I'm an international and constitutional lawyer, and I have filed cases at the International Criminal Court and at The Hague previously. The key elements that the audience needs to remember is, one, the order is not self-enforcing. The International Court of Justice has no paratroopers. If the United Nations Security Council decides to look aside, it's merely a piece of paper. And it's very likely the United States would veto any Security Council resolution seeking to impose sanctions on Israel if it doesn't comply.
There was an opportunity for the ICJ to call for a ceasefire. What would have that looked like?
Well, a ceasefire, number one, would have been problematic because you only have jurisdiction over parties to the case, right? Who are the two parties to this case? You got Israel and South Africa. And the ceasefire is supposed to be between who? The Israel or the IDF and Hamas. I mean, those are the contesting parties, right? The ones using violence. But Hamas isn't a party to the case. The ICJ doesn't have authority to tell Hamas to stop fighting. So, and South Africa, if they could order South Africa to tell Hamas stop fighting, but okay, South Africa could do that, but there's no guarantee that Hamas would stop. So, ceasefire is without the a broader consensus is not going to happen because of the ICJ.
Do you think there's any way for either side to really get what they want out of this?
It's a possibility, but it's not going to come from the ICJ. It's going to come from big powers who broker and insist and are able to utilize leverage because they provide money, they provide weapons, they provide intelligence and that kind of thing, hostage deal. It certainly could happen. And the United States is sending the CIA director over to see whether they can negotiate a ceasefire and involve the Qataris and Hamas and maybe Israel. Maybe it will succeed, maybe it won't. So I'm not saying that something like what you've described can't happen. I'm saying it's not going to be because the ICJ.